Okay, then let's start today's session. Yeah, I'm back from the holidays, and maybe you've seen it. A lot of new stuff in the recent release, including a full weather model for strategy simulation and a very much extended Tyre compound meta model for the different simulators. And today I will give you a brief introduction into this stuff, which is important if you want to use automated pit stops in simulations where are different tire compounds available for different cars. You have to understand the tire compound model, and maybe you want to configure the available tire compounds for the cars you are using in the simulator. As always, feel free to ask questions, and I also record the session and will put it live in YouTube later on for all those who had not the time to participate in the live coaching session. Okay, let's start. Tire compounds. Today, back in the days of Assetto Corsa Competizione, which was the simulator I started with, the life was very easy. You only had, or you only have, a dry compound and a wet compound. It's a standardized compound for all cars. So nothing complicated to use. But as I developed the simulator controller package and tried to integrate the different simulators, I saw very early that that the world is much more complicated with different cars, with different car categories, and so on. So deep in the heart of the simulator controller software is a tire compound meta model, which let you or let me configure different compounds for the different car categories. And this meta model is used by all applications of the package to deliver the available tire compounds either at the user interface so that you can choose the desired compound, or also to the artificial intelligence assistants when you, for example, want to plan the next pit stop and it has started to rain. Okay, you will find almost everything which you need to know about the tire compound model here in the chapter Tire Compounds in the wiki documentation. The first thing we want to look at is this list. This list defines all tire compounds that are available in the simulator controller package. The names here are standardized, so all these names must be used or will be used by the user interface or by the race assistants, even when the underlying simulator uses a different name. We will see this in a few seconds. As you can see here, we have the simple wet and dry tire compounds as used by Assetto Corsa Competizione, but we also have a simple intermediate tire compound, for example, for Automobilista 2. And we will have different mixtures or compound hardness levels for all of these different compound categories. Compound categories are wet, intermediate, and dry, and the mixture or hardness level is S for soft, M for medium, H for hard, and also some special ones as super soft, soft plus, or the color coding, which is used in some of the open wheeler race series. So said this, that these are the standardized compound identifiers used by my software. There must be a way to map the compounds which are used in a given simulator to this set of standardized compounds. And for this, we have the so-called compound rules. You can define for each car or even a specific car track combination the set of available compounds as provided by the simulator and the mapping to the standardized identifiers you see in this list. A simple rule like this says if the underlying simulator defines a hard tire compound, this will be mapped to the dry H tire compound for simulator controller. And now, if you have a given car, which, for example, provides 3 different dry tire compounds, a soft, a medium one, and a hard one, a mapping rule could look like this. You have the 3 mappings here, separated by a semicolon. Or here's a different example with 4 mappings, which is from Automobilista 2 from the no, it's from R Factor 2 from the GT3 category, car category. Okay, the next question which arises is where can I configure this? There are 2 different possibilities to do this. The first one is using a Tyre data meta file, which is available in the standard distribution package for a lot of cars already, but I do not cover all cars, so you can provide your own files. And the second possibility is to use the session database to enter the mapping rule there. I will show you both possibilities now. The first one, as I said, is a Tyre compound metadata file. The default ones, which are provided by the software itself, can be found in the installation directory, in the resources directory. There you will find a folder simulator data. And for example, if we open up the Automobilista 2 folder here, you will find a tyredata.ini file. The content looks like this. And what you can see here is in the lower area a list of cars, where you can see the car name, semicolon, and a star or asterisk. This is a placeholder for each track. If you want to enter a tire compound rule for a given car track combination, you can write, for example, something like this, which means, okay, for the Porsche 911 on the Nürburgring, we have a special category GT1 special. And then you have to enter this compound rule set in the section above. Let me delete this here. In most cases, a car will have a defined set of available tire compounds completely independent of the track. So all the routes I supply will have the asterisks or star placeholder here. But maybe you have usage of this. Okay, what you can see here, for example, for the Porsche 911, on each track, please use the GT1 compound rule set, which is defined here above, which maps a soft compound to the dry S, a hard compound to the dry H, and the wet compound to the wet compound identifier of simulator controller. Where do you get these from? It's very simple. Open the simulator, go to the car page or to the pit stop pit stop dialog and take a look at the available compounds and use the identifiers you see there as the left side of the mapping and the one of the standard Tyre compound identifiers of simulator controller, as we have seen here on the right side of the mapping. Okay, this is one method, and if you want to define a file like this on your own, you can do this. You don't have to overwrite anything here in the standard distribution or program installation folder of simulator controller, but you can put your own definitions in the simulator controller in your documents folder. There's also a simulator data folder where you can, for example, open up a new folder for AMS2 and therein create a Tyre data.ini file. You can, for example, use a copy of the standard file in the distribution or program folder, and there you can enter your own rules, or you can override rules which are defined by the standard if you, for example, want to have a different mapping. No problem there. The logic is first the standard file is loaded, and then the one you defined here in your own location, in your own simulator controller folder will be loaded on top. So you can substitute or add rules as you like. Okay, this is one method, maybe a method for the more experienced user. The second one is if you only want to enter a Tyre compound rule for a specific car, you can open the session database, move to the simulator in question, use the car you want to have, and then create here a new setting for Automobilista 2 for the Cadillac. From the set of available settings, use the pit stop Tyre compound choices, and there you can enter your rule. And so on. So you are able to use this simple tool, or if you have a lot of data to enter, you can create your own Tyre data.ini file. In any case, I would be happy if you do this, if you enter new cars which are not available in the standard. Please send me your definitions, and I will incorporate it into the standard. I, for myself, do not have enough time to cover all cars in all simulators because there are so many. But I already covered the most important categories, but if you driving a car which does not appear in the list, follow the instructions we talked about. Okay, that's for the definition. The next point I want to cover is where are the Tyre compounds used? If you open race settings, this is the application which you use to enter the specific settings for an upcoming race or training session. You will see that the list of available Tyre compounds is unspecific. That's understandable because we opened the race settings application without running simulator or anything else, so the application does not know which car you want to drive, which on which track, in which simulator, and so on. But this pop-up or drop-down menu will adopt or adjust to a specific car and track combination if this knowledge is available. We can simulate that. I close it. We open up the session database. With simulation, do I mean I don't want to run a simulator now, but we can do the same thing. For example, if we go here in the session database, select a given car, for example, the Super V8, and run the test mode, which opens up the race settings with all the settings from the session database. And as you can see here, there are only 3 compounds available, which are the ones which are defined in the Tyre data meta model. Here you see Super V8. This is the category Super V8. Here, 3 tire compounds. So now the application knows which tire compounds are available. Another application which uses the available or configured tire compounds is the strategy workbench and also the race center. The strategy workbench, the application you use to simulate the strategy for an upcoming race, will also use the tire compound metadata according to the selection you choose here. Okay, we go also here to the Super V8 on Imola. And now you will have here in the simulation menu the compound which you want to use to start your race with. For example, we want to start with a hard, dry tire compound. The race center has also a couple of areas where tire compounds are used. The race center is a little bit different. It will derive the knowledge for the selected car and track from the session on the team server or from the session loaded from a stored session, which you have previously saved. For example, I want to load here this one. Okay, it's a race I run with a teammate, and this is a race with Seto Corsa Competizione, so we will only have 2 different compounds. You can see this here, where you enter the setup information for different weather conditions, and in the compound drop down you will have dry and wet compounds. But if this is a session, for example, for an Automobilista 2 race, you might have different compounds here. The other area where the compound is used is here in the preparation page for an upcoming pit stop. Here you can also choose from the list of available tire compounds for the given car. Okay, and the last area, which I cannot demonstrate really good, is the virtual race assistants. For example, the race engineer. If you're running a race with a car which has different tire compounds available, and there is a weather change and the race engineer plans a pit stop, he will select the best fitting tire compound for the upcoming pit stop. So there is another question which will now come up. What is the best fitting tire compound? As I said, the simulator controller package has also a weather model, which defines 6 levels of weather from full dry to full thunderstorm. Not all simulators have a sophisticated weather model, as you probably know, but for Assetto Corsa Competizione or Automobilista 2 or Project Cars 2, all weather levels are available. Others will have restricted set. For example, iRacing only supplies a dry track. But if you have a simulation with different weather, the suitable categories, which means the tire compounds you can use in a given weather situation, is listed here. And the optimal category you can see here, which means in full dry, okay, a dry tire compound or a slick tire will be best. In drizzle condition, it depends. If you have intermediate tires available, maybe you will use an intermediate tire compound here. But if you only have a dry and a wet tire compound available in drizzle conditions, the dry tire compound will work best, and so on. From this table, you can see why, for example, the race engineer will choose a tire compound in the given weather condition. Okay, last but not least, I can show you this dependency between the weather model and the tire compound using the strategy simulation. That's the last thing I want to cover for today. Let's go to Assetto Corsa Competizione, because there I have the most complete set of telemetry data for different weather situations available, which is necessary that the strategy simulation will even be successful with different weather situations. Okay, we will have a 180-minute race with a 65-minute stint limit. Pit stops will be optional. Let's initialize the settings from the database, which means, for example, we want to have the pit lane delta here and so on. And now we have a very, very precise weather forecast for the race. So we can supply a set of weather changes ahead for the simulation. First, we know that 10 minutes into the race, we will have a weather change with light rain and a temperature drop. And after an hour, it will start with medium raining, which is some quite intense raining, and it will get even colder. And after 2 hours into the race, it will slowly get dry again. With even 2.5 hours into the race, it will be full dry. And even warmer now. So that's the weather forecast for the simulation, and now we can let the simulation try to find the best strategy for this weather conditions. We will start with 90 liters, so okay, everything fine. Let's run the simulation. And the simulation shows we will have 3 pit stops. The first stint will only have 5 laps. in dry conditions, and then after 10 minutes we have seen it will start with light raining. The simulation will use or will plan a pit stop here, and we'll switch to wet tires, and then we have a pretty normal stint with 30 laps, which is a little bit over an hour on Mount Panorama. And we have configured a 65-minute stint limit, so that's quite okay. After that, we will still have raining conditions, but you have seen that after 2 hours the raining fades out, so we will have to switch to dry tires here to get the best possible performance. And the possible race looks like this. And you can store this strategy now as the race strategy, so that the strategies know, the virtual strategies, the AI bot which covers the strategy topics, will know about the strategy, and he will also observe the real weather which comes in during a race, and is able to adjust the strategy. For example, if the medium rain comes in a little bit more early, so you can ask the strategies to recalculate or adjust the strategy according to the real weather conditions. So that is this. Any questions so far? Looks like not. So let me close with one important information. I will go back to this file here. For most simulators, the order of the compound mappings you see here in this compound rule must be identical to the order of the available compounds in the pit stop dialog in the simulator. Otherwise, the selection of a tire compound for an upcoming pit stop will choose the wrong tire compound. So if, for example, in Automobilista 2, for the, let's take a look here, for the McLaren 570S, it's a, oh, there's an error. This must be 4, I think. For the GT4 category, when there are 2 compounds available, soft and rain, you must define it like this. Okay, this is that. There's one exception of this rule. This is R factor 2, because R factor 2 allows selection of tire compounds through the API by tire compound name and not by tire compound index. So you can choose another order, but I recommend to stick to the order which is defined by the simulator. It's always okay for that. And the second one is the second special thing to consider is that Automobilist 2 does not provide any information about the currently mounted tire compound at all. You can read about this here also in the documentation about the things you have to consider for different simulators. So regarding Automobilista 2, the software cannot derive which tire compounds are chosen when or are mounted when you start your race. So please always enter the currently chosen tire compound for a given race here in the initial setup sections in race settings. The correct one which you have mounted on or have chosen for the first stint, so that the race engineer or the race strategists know knows which compound you have, and if it's necessary to change to a different compound in an upcoming pit stop. So I think I have covered almost everything. As always, if you have questions for this, please feel free to post it in our Discord. And otherwise, if there are no questions here remaining from the community, no, it isn't. So I will close the session for today. See you next week. Bye bye.